Hi everybody! So I'm coming here to talk to you today about DrachenFest US! It's finally here, everybody! So I am so excited to finally just talk about it, talk about my involvement in it, and who I want to play, and what I want to do. So I'm really just gonna get into it. DrachenFest, the German DrachenFest, has been around for like 20 years, if not more, and it is a long, ongoing history about the battles of all of these dragons that are represented by avatars, and each dragon has their own goals and ambitions and wants, and whatever dragon wins that year for the DrachenFest, they're in the game world, their island is being raised from the ground, and you know, they become stronger and whatnot, but there's no actual like mechanical benefit in the game from winning DrachenFest. It's just kind of cool that the narrative went that way, you know? And DrachenFest is very much a smashing together of many styles of LARP, where it's like, you know, everything being about a sport, an art, a game is still absolutely true, but they're just kind of coexisting in this single game space. Like, DrachenFest has battles, huge battles with thousands and thousands of people. And there's different teams, and there's people who really like to get into that, and you can completely not go to the battles at all and be perfectly fine and still have a wonderful week that you're there, basically. It's like, you know, there's something in it for everybody. You could just be a town person, and maybe because you're a beggar, you get wrapped up into some crazy conspiracy plot. Like, everything happens completely organically. The only plot of the game is that there are dragons, you are fighting for your dragon, you want them to win. It's very simple because the real narratives that come from DrachenFest are from all of the plot that is player driven. Think about it like this. Everybody is a walking story, and there are hundreds and hundreds of pages maybe to the stories. Imagine if you simply talk to a friend and all of a sudden, you know, he talks to another friend about what you guys talked about, and oh my god, now, you know, 18 people are involved and a ritual is happening, you're bringing a demon from hell. You know, it's just crazy. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to be posting all the direct info about DrachenFest Germany and DrachenFest US down below. I will be honest with you guys, I have not been to DrachenFest Germany, so like I can't give you an in-depth, detailed rules breakdown of like how it works or the differences between the US and the German, because first, the US hasn't happened yet, and also I you know, haven't gone to the German one. So I'm gonna put both the websites down below. The German website does translate to English, so you can kind of like go in and learn about the game if you would like to, the traditional way. There's also a couple of great videos from the Irish Will, who also covers DrachenFest. You can go follow him. His content has been very thorough about it. He kind of gives you a good feel of what it's like to be there and how the game works and whatnot. I'd highly recommend you check the videos out on his channel. They definitely gave me a better understanding of basically what I've missed. It's a big festival experience, and now some of you are probably gonna be like, this sounds like Beakelin. Now, I will be honest with you guys, as somebody who has gone to Beakelin, Beakelin is not really a LARP. It's definitely a like Ren Fair festival, you know, that has like some roleplay elements, but that's not really like the core of why people are there. And it's definitely evident from like the culture and like the things you can explore there and do there. There's definitely some roleplay guilds, but again, it's not like the main focus. I spent most of my time out of character at Beakelin because the people I was around just weren't in character. There was nothing to roleplay, so I didn't. But DrachenFest is different because DrachenFest is a LARP, and there are referees and like there are staff that help guide the story and stuff like that, and like the NPCs, and there's crazy effects. Like it is absolutely a LARP, unlike Beakelin. So like, I think having something like this come to the United States is so exciting because there's been nothing like this on Earth, frankly, because from what I understand is that like they're changing, the US DrachenFest team is changing a lot to kind of, you know, of course, fit cultural sensitivities that need to be touched on upon here in the United States, and also just like, in my opinion, it looks like it's shaping up to be a fabulous game. And so I can't wait to see what this actually looks like, what this plays like. And why I'm making these videos is because this is the beginning of the journey that me and you are gonna go down together. I'm basically going to be making another series, just like I did for Fairweather Manor, in which I kind of vlogged my way all the way up to the LARP when I had updates about costuming, and then going to the LARP, and maybe even being at the LARP, and then after the LARP, and I am really excited. So yeah, DrachenFest USA is gonna be right here in the US, and it's going to be taking place at Camp Sacagawea in Sparta, New Jersey, June 8th through the 12th, 2022. And you can also buy early arrival to arrive on the 7th to set up your gear and your tent and everything like that early. Everything's available on the website. Currently the tickets are, they just sold out of early bird tickets. So they're gonna be doing the first round of tickets, which is $190. And so essentially to keep, you know, managing people and like, I think logistics and stuff insane for the team, they're doing it in like batch releases of tickets. So the first round is up for $190, and that gets you a ticket to the event and a space to tent. So if you have a period tent, you can come to DrachenFest US and tent in your respective camp area. If you have a modern tent, you can also tent as well, but they will be put in the out of game, you know, not modern tent area. And you can also buy a rental tent that you can rent by yourself with a couple other people. You can buy a bed in the tent bunker, where it's like a giant tent that has a bunch of bunks in it with a bunch of other people that you don't know, but you know, you can buy a ticket to stay there. You can also get a cabin room, or you can rent like one of the like single person or like two people like little shacks or cottages or whatnot, and I know those are a little bit more expensive, but they are basically offering a payment plan for everything. They even offer a payment plan for the ticket. I think it's super cool that they're offering payment plans. I am going to be tenting myself. I'm going to be tenting in the Silver Camp, so I am super excited, and I'm gonna have a huge tent. Like I'm so excited. I've never had a period tent before, and I am so thankful to the DrachenFest team for giving me a tent and, you know, letting me take it home. So I'm gonna be able to tent in Silver, and I have been really thinking about decorations to like make it really pop, and I've been so excited. So there is 6 teams at DrachenFest US. There is Silver Team, Shadow Team, Red Team, Blue Team, Green Team, and then the Bazaar. So each of these kind of stand for different things, where, you know, the Silver Dragon is all about honor and virtue. The Red Dragon is about power and strength. The Blue Dragon is about curiosity and freedom. The Green Dragon is about nature and the world, the earth. And the Bazaar is essentially just the town. It's like the actual town where you can go and learn things and go and do things. And so the Bazaar is actually, you have to apply to be a Bazaar player, because Bazaar players are allowed to go to all the different, you know, camps, because they are essentially a neutral faction. So if you are interested in kind of being like a barmaid, or you're just interested in being like a town person that isn't actually part of any of the other camps, the Bazaar is the option for you. I think in the coming weeks, the DrachenFest team is going to be dropping applications for people who want to also join guilds or have guilds. I think they're also going to be dropping the Bazaar application, so you can apply to be part of the Bazaar team. So you guys are probably wondering, what's up with the white hair? Well, my character, who I'm going to be playing, named Alicia Dura. If you guys have watched my videos for a long time, when I've shown pictures of me starting LARPing in like the beginning of my LARP career, there's me in all white with white hair, and I'm probably posting pictures of her right now. And she, you know, you never really forget your first LARP character. That I will tell you the truth. You never do. You never forget any of them, really. Like, I've forgotten, you know, not forgotten, but like the stories have become hazy for a few characters, you know, that I didn't necessarily love as much, or I wish I could have done better. But your first, you never forget. your first character. You know what I'm saying? I guess an idea for this series is that I want to keep putting another costume piece on for each episode that I guess we do here. I have no idea how many it's going to be, but this is at least the first one, and the game is in June, so let's see. But this is the first video, and I am wearing the first piece of her costume, so white hair. And I don't know why I chose white for her per se. I just always thought white-haired characters were super cool when I was a teenager, because mind you, I was like 15 years old when I wrote her. Like, this is like the first time in a while, you guys, that I have felt this buzz in my chest about a LARP, you know? And I think maybe there's something nostalgic to it, because like DrachenFest US is happening at this is my 10-year anniversary in LARPing. I started in 2012. And it's at the same camp that like I grew up at. It's something so poetic to be able to go back to the camp I just started as a seasoned professional and like somebody who's been doing this a long time, and like bringing back my first character. Like, I actually am getting a little emotional. I don't know. I'm like really excited for it. It's different. And I don't think I realized, you know, how much I missed maybe playing my first character, because I only played her for a couple of months back when I was a kid, because I ended up leaving the game because it was an unsafe place for a minor, and I just was very unhappy there. I don't know, the chance to bring her back and like do her how I wanted to do her originally, like as a teenager. But you know, when you're a teenager, you don't have money. You know, you barely know how to do anything, and it's just like, I can't believe, first off, I've been doing this long, and it's really cool, and I'm so excited to like be her again, which I'm gonna stop getting choked up because I have to tell you about who I'm playing. I also found the backstory. I found her backstory, and oh my God. So first I thought I was never gonna be able to find her backstory, and then I went through old like hard drives, I went through old USBs. I was freaking out because I could have sworn that I saved it somewhere. And I was like, oh no, don't tell me that I lost my first character's backstory. Like, I guess you just never really think of those things when you're a kid, to like put them somewhere safe or like save it somewhere safe that you'll know you can find it. So like I started kind of freaking out, and I don't know what hit me, but I had like a really old email address that was like really cheesy. I'm not gonna actually put my email address in the thing, but it was like anime queen girl and at whatever.com, and really lame. I don't know what possessed me to look at that email, but lo and behold, I looked it up. I looked up Alicia's name in that email. It had like a quadrillion unread emails, and I found it because I have a reading and writing disorder, and so I tend to have a lot of grammatical mistakes in all of my writing, and spelling errors and like structure errors. So I had gotten to the habit of asking my friends to proofread my work, and they did. And I had sent them my LARP story to proofread. Thank you, dyslexia. Because it felt so good to find that story, man. I was scared. I was so scared. I lost it. Oh my God. And I opened it in the spelling errors, like even now, I was like, oh girl, oh no. So I went in and I fixed it up, and I read it, and it's so cute. It's so cute. I clearly, I was never confident in my writing, definitely not as a teenager, and I'm so glad that like this, you have to understand, guys, your first LARP character usually, because like back then there was no YouTube anything with LARP. So like, yeah, we had YouTube and stuff like that, but there was like barely, and I mean barely, anything really, or any people really talking about LARP on a casual basis. There was only one channel, and I believe it's gone now, but which was a beautiful black woman named Nana. But like, so you went in blind. Like you couldn't like, there was no Reddit, there was no Twitters, there was no Instagrams, nothing. There was nothing for LARP anywhere. So when I made her, I went in completely blind. So this is a character written without the influence of what made a good character, like asking questions in the forum and stuff like that. I had an original background for her that was going to involve vampires, but the story team at the time told me that they couldn't do it. So, because like it wasn't really a vampire game, it was a fantasy game. So I like erased that and replaced it with something else, which I'll tell you later. But you know, it's amazing to look back because you don't see nuance as much when you're younger. You really just don't. You have less patience for nuance too when you're younger. And even though I thought I was writing this like really, you know, awful, I don't know, I just wasn't confident in it. I was so nervous to like show it to people, and I don't really think I did much at all, actually. So I thought my writing was really bad and simple, but I read it again, and you know, it's not perfect. It's not like a, you know, beautiful Shakespearean masterpiece, but it's a lot more nuanced and deeper than I had given credit for, or given myself credit for, or even like really looked at and like admired or whatever. And I think, I don't know, it made me feel good about her. It made me miss her more. It made me realize who I had left behind in the years, you know? Like Alicia Dura she's like a time capsule, because I LARPed in high school, so it makes me feel like I'm gonna go to junior and senior prom again, and it makes me feel and remember about how excited I was and how much I was not paying attention in math class because I was on my iPad and like looking up stuff on the forum and like answering my friends' chat messages because we were talking about cool roleplay stuff. Like I was totally that kind of nerd about it. That's why I think now a lot of us are warning people about like getting too far deep and blah, 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 because like so many of us, like my boyfriend grew up doing it too. Like he started at 13. And I don't know, looking back on it now as a grown woman, it's just, you know, she was ahead of her time for the scene, I guess. For, like, the nuance that was there wouldn't have been played on back in 2012. You know, everything was like you were good or you were bad. And if you were bad, you were killed because you would kill people in the town, and people don't want to die, so you die. And there was no like playing with the evil or playing with morally gray characters or gray actions. You know, there were a few characters that could do it back then and a few people that were able to sort of achieve it, but it wasn't without constant headache and pushback and issues and drama. And I realize now why I was so unhappy playing her was because like the way that I wrote her, this innocent child that, you know, wakes up to the brutality of the world around her, yet still remains to be kind, even while eventually herself taking up a sword to heal, you know, the wounded on the battlefield and to protect herself. It's just, nobody would have played on her like that. I was just a healer girl. I was just a pretty healer girl. And that's all I was. And that's not what she was. That's not what I wrote. That's not how she was played, but that's how people reacted to me at the time. And I think that's why it's like part of the reason, not the entirety, but like part of the reason I got so frustrated with that experience. I guess enough about who she is and what she means to me. I guess I should really start to tell you about her. Alicia was a half elf, half human, essentially like a wood elf. But the thing is that the game that I was in, they didn't actually allow like mixed race for like the fantasy races, because it was very old school LARP where it had like race categories and there were certain things and skills that certain, you know, fantasy races could do that others couldn't or could do better or with a bonus, blah, blah, blah. It's like Skyrim. So I couldn't make her a half elf because like I didn't even realize that I was doing this at the time, but because I'm a multiracial person, like, I'm just incredibly mixed. Like, I have mixed parents who are of mixed grandparents, who are mixed great-grandparents. Like, I'm super, super, super mixed. And I guess subconsciously, I was making all of my characters mixed at, you know, just in the beginning. I didn't realize I was doing that until I went to College of Wizardry for the first time when I was like 20-ish, like around there, 21-ish. So, you know, I ended up having to choose whether she was going to be a human or an elf, and I chose for her to be human, but I asked the story team that because she was an elf, she probably would have had the genetics for the white hair that her mother had, and we could just say that it was a dominant trait, which the story team was like, all right, fine. So I had a fantastical element, but I was functionally in the game human. So the story of Alicia Dura is that she was born on a beautiful snowy night in a little cottage in, you know, the outskirts of a cute little village that farmed potatoes. Yep, I had canonically made it a potato farm and, like, you know, other farming goods like carrots and cabbages and stuff. Now, you know, where she was, it would snow often in the winter, which made them particularly brutal for the area. And so her mother and father, you know, took great care of her. Her mother taught her everything she knew about her healing magic. Now, healing in the game that she was from was not an ability that you could just like learn. You were born with it. You were born with the ability to heal. And it was like a power drawn from within you and from within your soul. And it wasn't an exchange of life, even though in the game there was a branch of healing that was literally empathic and was an exchange of life. It's more about you being able to draw the healing energy from within yourself and expel it out of your body. And that is like, that magical ability is a genetic trait. And so Alicia was born with that. And so her mother tried to, you know, show her the ropes and whatnot. About when Alicia was 7 years old, it was a particularly brutal winter, and a couple of bandits came to the farm and unfortunately murdered her parents and ransacked the farm. And Alicia's mother, you know, put a cloak on Alicia's back that was blood red and told her to run out into the snow. And it was very sad. Her mother had her wear a red cloak because Alicia, with her white hair, loved to wear all white. And so when she would go out and play in the winter, her mother just like straight up could not see her. She would just kind of like disappear if her back was to the house. So her mother made her wear a red cloak. She flees in this red cloak and unfortunately collapses on the side of the road, where luckily a carriage of a wealthy merchant came by named Jacob Dura. And so Jacob Dura takes this young little girl into his, you know, cool chariot thing, and they ride into town, and Jacob had a wife. His wife was very ill and could not, you know, naturally produce children. And so they made a decision once they found out Alicia was orphaned and they had nursed her back to health, to adopt her and to raise her as their own child. So Alicia took kindly to, you know, Jacob and her stepmother's kindness. And so she lived there. But there were some downsides to this because her mother was so neurotic. She basically kept her inside all the time. Did not let her leave the grounds. Granted, their house was quite large and they had like a garden and stuff like that, but Alicia was really kept away from people unless they were, you know, the people that serviced the house, or, you know, her mother and father, or some of the guests that would arrive. So the girl really, you know, she didn't get out much. And as you can imagine, this probably cripples somebody's social growth and understanding of the world and naivety. So eventually Alicia grows up. She is about 17 years old, and her mother falls gravely, gravely ill. And at this point, her stepmother had been ill for so long that there was nothing Alicia could do. She wasn't trained well enough to know how. So she had to watch her her stepmom die of a sickness that she could not heal. She didn't know how to heal or how to take the energies out of her in order to do so. And so her mother passed away, and with that, Alicia felt that it was time that perhaps she go and see the world now. And maybe she could learn more about her abilities and learn how to be a better healer. And her father, who kind of understood that, you know, it was time for her to leave the nest, you know, gave her a satchel and a backpack, and she went to the town. The town that would be, I'm not going to name the LARP, and I'm not going to name the town that was in the game, because I'm not trying to, you know, it was 10 years ago. But she went into the LARP town, and that was her story, and I played her going into that. So that is Alicia's backstory, and unfortunately, like I said, it didn't work out with the game, and I went back one more time. I went back one last time about 2 or 3 years later to play her again. Now, for this video, I actually, if I'm honest with you guys, could not remember a lot of Alicia's story that actually happened at the LARP. I could remember some key moments, but I didn't remember everything. And I was really, like, I was trying to piece it all back together, but I couldn't do it by myself and just trying to look at old Facebook posts. So I actually contacted 3 of my old buddies that used to go to the game, and they played the characters Veril the Bastion, Reese Argarest, and of course Byron the Bard. And they were like, we had like an adventuring crew, and they were a squad, and so I hadn't spoken to some of these people in a couple of years, and I just took a shot in the dark and asked them if they would be willing to speak to me, and I interviewed currently 2 out of 3 right now, and the 3rd is coming up quite soon. And we just reminisced about the game, and they were able to tell me all the adventures that we went on and piece it back together. Oh my God, it was such a good trip down memory lane, and I'm so thankful to all of you so much. Thank you so much, you guys. You 2 are the best, and I can't wait to talk to you soon, Reese. I'm excited. It was just so great going back and remembering all of the good times that I had. Essentially, Alicia was pretty naive when I first started playing the game, and throughout it, I knew that she was naive, not stupid. And unfortunately, people played it like naive equals stupid when it doesn't. It does not equal, she was not an idiot. And so, she actually became a very, very good healer in the game. Like, my mechanical, like, I actually was able to find my last character card, and my God, she was a good healer. And as time went on, I had her kind of grow and mature and see the horrors of the world, but not let them crush her spirit, but let them transform her into a person that would be strong enough to handle the bad so she could do the good that she needed to do. And by the time I had reached, I believe, my 7th game, there was a demon insurgence where demons were coming up from the pits of hell, you know, their version of hell, I guess, in the game. And I was walking around the camp helping somebody go to the parking lot, where I actually stumbled upon like this massive mod that was happening, this big module, like the equivalent of a quest. And I basically fell into hell. I got tortured there and shown all sorts of horrors, and Alicia was spit back out. And it, you know, traumatized her. Now, back in the old era of LARP, you know, it wasn't necessarily as politically correct as we are now in the thoughtful ways we talk about mental illness. And we had a category that was called derangements. And so, you know, unfortunately, it did not age well, okay? Did not age well, but I got 3 derangements, and I would see hallucinations, and I would hear things, and I would have nightmares. So, you know, I just want to make it very clear that this does not exist even in the game that I'm talking about. It does not exist today. And in many other games, you know, talking about like derangement or anything like that has basically been phased out of the LARP scene as a whole. But back in the day, that is definitely how it used to be. And you would roll a dice to see which one you would get, and you would look in a book and it would tell you, and you know, there was the minor version and the major version of it. So I had 2 majors and 1 minor. I'm sorry, 2 minors and 1 major. So my major was that I was violently hallucinating that this frying pan next to me, which was my trusty weapon back in the day, this bad boy is 10 years old, love him very much, but yeah, she could talk to her pan and her lantern and thought it was saying something to her and whatnot, but really everything after she was found got cured except the nightmares. And so that's where that story ends. By the time I left that game, I was 16. I was 16 years old. So I left, and I was going to turn 17. And I left, and that's where the story ended until I came back a couple of years later. So years later, you know, Alicia is this, hardened battle healer who, unfortunately, due to the nature of her, the nightmares that were cursed upon her, she would fall asleep because she would try and stay awake as long as possible so the nightmares couldn't torment her, and she would desperately try and stay awake as long as she could. Eventually, the nightmares kind of became a horror and like an entity of her own mind in which they would drag her back down to sleep. And she was essentially like, it was like fey narcolepsy, and she would fall asleep for months at a time. She fell asleep with, you know, the body of a girl and woke up with the body of a woman. And, that does something to you when you wake up and you don't recognize your own face anymore, because that's not what you looked like when you went to bed, I guess, but you fell asleep for a couple of years, so I guess you can't really help that. And she finally took up a sword, which was a big deal because I only fought with the frying pan when I was there the first time. And I did it before Tangled came out. Thank you very much. Did it before Tangled. Actually, this was the first latex frying pan, as far as I know, to have entered the United States was in 2012. So, dizzing. She finally realized that, like, there was no greater evil that she hasn't already seen in her mind. And so she was ready to fight anything. And so, not that it necessarily made her numb, but it definitely hardened her brutally. And so she finally took up a sword to traverse the lands and heal the people that she could and, fight for those that needed it. That sucks. But, so I let it go. And I let her go. And moved on. And now, after this long, I get to bring her back for DrachenFest. I'm gonna be on Silver Team. I mean, like, how could I not be this all-white healer with silver accents and not go Team Silver? Duh. So I am going to be on Team Silver. I have been in very close contact with the DrachenFest team. They basically kind of tell me the in and outs, and if I have any questions, I can ask them, and I'm essentially like the DrachenFest ambassador. I am listed as that on their website. It is very cool. So, I am so excited for the avatars that are going to be playing the dragons. I think in the coming weeks, DrachenFest will probably will make a huge announcement about them, but and I'll include it in the next video once it's public, but it's gonna be so amazing, unlike anything we've ever seen here in the US, and I can't wait. The camps are gonna be super awesome. So Silver Camp is all about creation, honor, virtue, valor, blah, blah, blah. It is very, very, very classic, fantasy hero stuff. And I love classical fantasy stuff. I think that, you know, that genre of LARP gets a lot of flack because it, you know, it is usually, it's not as much anymore, but it was super, super common and like widespread everywhere in the early 2000s and whatnot. And I don't know, I feel like people have gotten very tired of like fantasy, but I guess maybe it's been what's been going on for the last couple years with the panoramic, and, you know, I feel like we went through this fatigue with it, but finally, like, fantasy is coming back in a big way and people actually want to play fantasy, because really what was in the LARP scene was like post-apocalyptic stuff, and obviously no one's really interested in that right now. Cyberpunk stuff, which most of the community is not interested in right now. And a lot of that, you know, it's kind of, why would you want to roleplay the apocalypse when we're living in it? You vibe? And I feel like DrachenFest is bringing back this big fantasy element that, like, the super high fantasy element that's kind of been missing here. And I'm so excited to kind of get back into that wacky magic stuff. But yeah, so this is the first vlog, kind of just telling you guys about my character, Alicia, and a little bit about the game. Honestly, if you guys have any questions about DrachenFest US or you want to know more, again, I'm going to put the websites down below, but you can also ask questions in the comments. I love when you guys ask questions. I will answer you, I promise. Please do that, because I'm sure whatever answer that I can't answer, I can forward it to the DrachenFest team and they can answer. So you will get an answer. I'm so excited to go down memory lane and do this vlog series with you guys. Thank you so much to the DrachenFest US team for, you know, wanting to work with me. I'm so excited to go. Leave your questions down below. I will answer them, and welcome to the road to DrachenFest.